Happy Throat Punch Thursday. And my guest is fucking late and he's going to need to do push ups. And I need to turn this off. All right. Yet another Throat Punch Thursday, season 1, episode 3. And I do have a special guest if he shows up. Yeah. He's going to owe me push ups. So I'm going to keep this going. I'm going to try and get a real veteran or a real combat veteran on my Thursday live streams. It appears this is going to continue because it's obvious PV1 Kaiser is never going to fess up to his bullshit. He'll lurk over there on his little channel and hide in the shadows and just not talk about it. And then when he does talk about the military, he's 90% wrong most of the time anyway. So that's it. So I'm supposed to have Jeff on here today. I don't know where he is. He has not popped in yet. But I figured we'd talk to a real veteran, a real combat veteran, a real MP, somebody who's been to MP school. And we could talk a little bit about what goes on at Fort Leonard Wood. Now, it's been a long time since I went to MP school. I went to MP school at Fort McClellan back in the day, home of the MPs. Of the troops and for the troops is what we used to say. And not sure. Yeah, Article 1.5. Fuck off, Kaiser. You're a dipshit. And I'm probably going to get dinged because I've already dropped the F-bomb twice. Usually, if you don't do it in the first 8 minutes, you're good to go. And, yep, I see everybody in the chat. I'm having a great morning, great day. One of my coworkers has been out with shoulder surgery, so I went and picked him up this morning, took him out to the local diner, had some nice breakfast, and took him back home. I had to make a couple of stops on the way home. So I've been out and about doing real things, not strapped to my chair like Kaiser is. So I am going to send Jeff an email and say, dude, where are you? You are late. So let me just type out this quick email. And let's see if we get a reply. So for me, MP school, I mean, just getting started in the military, it wasn't really that difficult. Of course, I was 19 when I joined, and I was in pretty decent shape. And, I don't remember a lot of it. I remember going to the range, and I remember we tripoded, 3 of us tripoded our weapons, and we didn't leave a guard on them at the range, and came back to find all 3 of our weapons in the middle of a mud puddle. The drill sergeants weren't real happy, and we had to get them out of the mud puddle and clean them as best we could before we went back up on the range. They had us doing some kind of detail bullshit. So we tripoded our weapons, but nobody was guarding them, and they grabbed them and tossed them in a mud hole. The things you remember. I don't know if anybody else has ever had anything like that when they were going through basic or AIT. AIT is nothing but a blur for me because it was kind of, I don't know, it was almost like self-paced. And I finished, I I don't know, probably a couple of weeks early. And then I was on my way to Korea. And I managed to get a 4 or 5 days before I had to leave. The screwed up thing is military transportation and its wisdom gave me a plane ticket going to Travis Air Force Base. Showed up there, and the flight that they had me booked on to go to Korea left 2 hours prior to me getting to California. So somebody didn't have their time schedule correct with the change in times. And I spent about 5 days at Travis Air Force Base. One of my high school buddies was stationed at Travis in the Air Force. So it was pretty cool. I hung around with him a little bit. Actually, he was busy, but he gave me the keys to his car, and I went and drove around and pretty much did nothing. I just had to keep checking in to see if they could get me on a flight, and then they finally got me on a flight. But yeah, Jeff's not going to hear the end of this. Not going to hear the end of it. Asking for the link again. He is such a tool bag. All right, Jeff. Let me send you an email with the link. Jeff. What kind of shit is this? See in the chat? Oh, what a tool. So you know the old saying, folks. Excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one and they all stink. So link has been sent. Now let's just see if he, since he's been making the Master Sergeant wait, let's see if he dares show his face. So who do we, there he is. Yep. Really, dude?
I saved it as noon.
It's 11 to 12. But that's all
right.
right. You're here.
I set an alarm and everything in my phone and the calendar.
Well, that's all right. I mean, anytime you want to start pushing, you can go ahead and start. And when I get tired, I'll let you know.
I'll let the tiny terrorists take this round for me.
Oh, boy. So what's going on with you, my friend?
Nothing. Just been getting ready for Christmas, job hunting a little bit, and hanging out with the kids, enjoying it.
Yeah. How old are the kids? If you don't mind me asking. I don't want you to.
You're good.
They sound like 3, 4, 5, maybe.
No, I got 13, 11, and oops. Will be 3 in February.
Ooh, 13, 11, and oops. Well, dude, you know, it is what it is.
Right.
But that's good. That's good. I'm happy for you. Yeah, so I wanted to have you on because, number one, you're a real veteran. Number two, you're an MP. Number three, you're a combat veteran. Although you did suffer from some toxic leadership, it sounds like, after everything that you've sent me and I've read.
Fixing like schedules and taking care of soldiers is punishable in the Army.
Yeah. But so you went to Fort Leonard Wood, correct?
Yeah.
So You went to basic training at Fort Leonard Wood.
Yeah, and AIT.
And AIT. So it was a one station, or what they call OSIT, one station unit training.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because I went to McClellan. So what did you find difficult about basic training? Or did you find anything difficult?
I mean, it was like the first time I'd left my like podunk town from the hills of West Virginia. But I mean, once I got over that, it was during the surge and like the war was happening, so there wasn't much difficult about it.
Did you have any guys in your company or platoon or anything that met it out?
We had a dude like tie a vacuum cleaner cord around his neck and throw it out a second story window and still graduate. And then there was another guy that couldn't stop eating his scabs, graduate. So, yeah,
Man.
that
And
was
they made it.
gross. Yeah, they both graduated. The scab guy was in the platoon. Like when we would go to chow, he would be like directly across from me when we would form up outside of the DFAC. And I would just see him like stand there and like just obsessively like reach up and pick a scab and eat it.
Ugh,
Yeah, just fucking gross.
that is gross. Man, I had a big breakfast too. You're making my stomach turn. But for the most part, I mean, so that was during the surge. So that would have been 05, 06, 07 time frame.
Yeah, I
So
originally joined reserves, and then I came back, and I think I did like two, maybe three drills tops, and I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. They weren't scheduled to deploy anytime soon, and it was a whole bunch of nothing, so I went active.
yeah, I found the same thing with the reserve. It was a lot harder for me when I transitioned to my reserve time because I was coming off of almost 14 years of active duty, and because I got out in the big drawdown in '92, and when the Clintons gutted the military, and going into the reserves, coming from an active duty lifestyle, yeah, it wasn't for me. So, and even though I spent, 10 years between the reserve and the guard jumping around, um, it just, yeah, it was horrible, horrible.
It's a whole bunch of like nothing, and then it's I, people don't. I guess maybe they'll take it. It gets taken seriously if they're about to deploy, but I don't know. We just went out. We went to some old like camping base, basically drove Humvees and like 5 tons 4 hours down south, and then like did a PT test and drove back. And I think like three of us passed the fucking PT test.
Mm.
And that was the whole drill, 3 days for a PT test. We didn't shoot weapons. We didn't like do any training. It seemed like just eating MREs for the sake of eating MREs.
Yeah, it's yeah. So I'm not going to dig too deep into the reserve and the guard because it's anyway. But yeah, so then you went active. What was your stateside assignment?
I went active and pissed away $100,000 failing EOD school.
All right.
Right. That was pretty heartbreaking. And then I went to, from there, do not pass go, do not collect $200, straight to Mannheim. And then from Mannheim, went to Iraq, 2007 to 2009. And then from there, I came back, re-enlisted on our company commander's desk for choice of duty station, and went to Campbell and got to Campbell and went to Afghanistan 2010 to 2011. And that's when I got hurt.
Yeah. So, yeah, EOD school's no joke.
Yeah.
I've heard that from a lot of people. There's a lot of technical shit you have to know, and compounds and all that other crap. So that's not surprising because they don't. They probably have a pretty high washout rate, I would think.
Oh, it's like up there with like the special like people. I think I'm not positive on that, but it's pretty fucking high. And you
Yeah.
can like only fail, I think, like 2 tests, and after that, you're washed.
So you went to Germany. How long before you deployed while you were in Germany?
Um, like 6 months.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I spent 3 years in Germany. Of course, it was peacetime, and I loved it. But that was back. Well, it was right around the time the wall came down, because in '89 I was on a Berlin tour. Still had to wear your dress greens and shit, and they'd take you over and across Checkpoint Charlie and all. Of course, all that was gone while you were there. But yeah, it was different times back then. But we had a blast, and I really loved it. I still want to get back over there, and because
I
we
had a
still have a
great
lot of,
time.
yeah, we still have a lot of friends in Germany. When you were at Campbell, what unit were you in?
Uh, fourth BSTB, so Curry's.
Okay. Did they still have the 550, what was it, 553rd MP company?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's the
they
company I
had 101st too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was in the
but
553, and when I was at Campbell, and I worked traffic
yeah, they
pretty much.
were over by the Caucasoms.
Yeah, their barracks used to be right across from the air assault school. And I'm sure that's changed a lot since I was there, because I'm talking 1981, 82. So I'm sure
Yeah,
all changed. And I've never been back to Campbell since. But yeah. So basic AIT, piece of cake, reserves, not so great. Went to Germany, went to Iraq. So we were probably in Iraq during the same time frame. I didn't leave Iraq. Well, I don't know. It depends on when you got there in '07. We left in the end of October of '07.
I
And
I was just gonna say, I think we were like doing our left seat, right seat at that point in time.
yeah,
We
where
might have
were you?
fucking replaced you. Uh, our big spot was at Fob Kalzu, so we were like an hour south of Baghdad.
Okay.
That's where.
Yeah, I was up north. We had the 55 Deuce come in. Now, funny story. My very first active duty station as an MP was the 552 MP company, and they were at that time in South Korea, and down in Pusan, and that was the company that relieved us in Iraq. We relieved the 549th out of Stewart, which I knew them well. We relieved them, and then my very first unit in the military relieved us. And I forget. I think they were in Hawaii. They were pulled out of Korea, the 728th MP Battalion. They were pulled out of Korea, and I think they were in Hawaii. But so it was kind of weird. I had two units that I knew pretty well, ripping us in and ripping us out. So
yeah, there must be a lot of like shit companies in the MP world, because we were the Fighting Deuce when I was in Germany, the 272nd. But we deployed just my platoon attached to the 230th out of K-Town.
okay, like a backfill, or were you like an extra platoon?
What they were doing at the time, they would leave a platoon back in K-Town to do I guess L&O, and then we filled in their spot. It's how, I guess, how they were doing it at that
Yeah.
time.
All right, for everybody in the chat, L&O is law and order. Those are the guys that work the streets on the bases, or in the case of Germany, the Kaserns, town patrol, that kind of stuff. Just so everybody knows, it's law and order. It's basically you're a street cop, just like you would be out here on the street. So yeah, that's and that's what, of course, that's what I did at Campbell. The 553 was a garrison MP company. So yeah, we chewed the same sand during the same time anyway.
Right.
So, and now let's talk a little bit about Kaiser's bullshit. Because, I definitely, I always want to bring up his bullshit anytime I do a Throat Punch Thursday, and we also need to do the video.
Right.
You kind of threw me off being late.
I fucked it up, and then like I opened YouTube and saw you like sitting there looking down, and I was like, "Are we starting early? Does he know he's on?" And
I
then
knew I was on.
I was searching through the email, and I could like show quote like hidden text, and I couldn't find the link. I was like, "What the hell?"
All right. As always, guys, I got to show my Stolen Valor Thursday, Throat Punch Thursday. Again, these are the guys, grunt style. I get nothing. They don't even know I probably show this video, but you know, take care of them. I got a bunch of T-shirts with all kinds of shit on it. You know, fuck your feelings and all that stuff. They got all that stuff. So let's share this up here real quick. I love this.
So I met this chick at the bar.
Yeah?
Oh, she was hot. She was just like, "Hey,
Oh, man,
you just want to
awesome.
awesome." And I was like, "Yeah,
Too easy.
yeah. Hey,
Where'd you earn that CIB at? The PX? What? It's not Stolen Valor. I bought it with my.
I love those guys. So we always got to do our Throat Punch Thursday video. And of course, at the end, we're going to have to do, I don't know. I haven't seen any requests, and I'm going to keep my app shut.
All right. Kaiser, like, I mean, I knew the first time I heard him talk that he was full of shit. Like,
So
but
had you seen some of his stuff before the truth came out?
it was around, I'm trying to think, because Josh had like gone a little like paranoid there for a minute, and he and I went like a year without talking to each other, and then it like just one day I opened YouTube and he was live streaming again, and we started talking, and he was like, "Well," and we were talking about bacon, And he said, well, I got another like guy that I'm looking into now. He's doing a stream with Frauditor Troll calling out this auditor. You should check it out if you have time. And I listened to that live. And I guess like for people that like weren't MPs, it's not as obvious. But if you were like an MP that actually did the things that like he claims to do, you can tell like I guess easily how full of shit he is.
Oh yeah, yeah. The whole Humvee thing had me going. I don't know if you guys had 114s or if you have 151s.
Yeah,
I
we
know a
had
lot of those.
oh go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was just gonna say we had them both.
Yeah, we had both. They just started transitioning the 151s in. As a matter of fact, the airfield, we were Camp Merez. Well, we had Diamondback and Merez. We were across the street from each other. And out on the airfield, they must have had 50 brand new 151s. And they were giving them to the grunts. And the grunts were the ones that were doing force protection on the fobs. And we're riding around in rickety ass 114s with homemade armor on some of them. It was ridiculous. They're sitting on a access point with two brand new 151s, and we go rattling out the gate with shit falling off our trucks. It was amazing.
Ratchet strapped together.
Yeah. The whole thing about 70 miles an hour and stopping dead in its tracks. First off, like I said, the 70 miles an hour, that's never going to happen. Not even downhill with a tailwind. Like I said, the only way you're going to get one to go 70 is if you drop it out of the back of a 130 at about 5,000 feet. It might hit 70 miles an hour by the time it hits the ground. Because it's
roll
just
it down on the Hindus.
It's a big fucking turd is what it is, especially the 114s without the turbos. Why the hell am I giving a thumbs up? Oh, my camera's got that thing. If I give I don't know if I can get it to do it again. I don't know. But the 151s were a little bit better with the turbo diesels in them, but they were still ship boxes.
Right.
Did you guys
and then
did you have any ASVs?
yeah, we did actually. We had ASV get hit by another three letter word acronym, EFP, right outside of the fob at a checkpoint. And it basically just everyone was a double amputee. And had they been in a Humvee, like they all would have been dead.
Yeah. The ones we had, two of them were down. Well, I got one that was up and one that was down when we ripped in. We finally got the second one fixed, and then I forget they hit a really small IED, like a pipe bomb or something, but a piece of it came through the inner fender well. I guess there was some thin armor up in the top portions, and it kind of like went right up the driver's arm, which was kind of crazy. Let's see.
Yeah,
So what we're talking about here, this is an ASV. Like I said, the MPs are some of the most heavily armored guys, outfitted guys in theater. We got more firepower than an entire a platoon of MPs has got as much firepower as a company of infantry. Between Mach 19 grenade launchers, 50 cal machine guns, and vehicles like this, we had two of these and a bunch of Humvees. But these things were just amazing. And one guy up in the turret, he's got a 50 cal and a grenade launcher. And we just ripped their asses up with those.
Right, and that's a M1A1 turret in that thing.
Yep. Yeah, I just grabbed the first picture that was there. That's actually one of the better ones.
You just can't see shit.
No, you cannot. You cannot. How about the oh shit, now I can't remember the name of it.
We had some MRAPs.
Yeah, we never had that.
Yeah, those came at the tail, like towards the end of our deployment. We started getting those.
So
They were nice.
that big round piece of pipe sticking up in the back, for those of you who are unaware, that's called a Duke. And that is our jamming system. And it was supposed to jam all of the cell phone, all of that stuff within a pretty decent radius of all the vehicles. And we all had them on there. If you watch my my night mission video on my YouTube channel, you can hear in my headset, or you can hear them in the recording as I walk by the back of one of the trucks. You hear this little, that's the Duke, and it's wiping out all of the cell phones in the area, and that's
Hear
so
that shit.
remote detonate on us.
And like the communication systems inside the trucks too. I don't know if you guys had those, but
The
like you could hear it.
Blue
Well,
Force
no,
Shack.
like the headsets.
Oh yeah. That's
Right.
probably why I've got tinnitus, because when you're wearing your headset, I don't know if you guys had them. They had a little battery pack on them, and you could flip it to outside or inside. So when you get out
Yeah.
of the truck, you flip the switch, and if you had a good battery in it, you could hear what people were talking to you about. And unfortunately, if you don't switch it back and you get blown up, it kind of screws up your ears for a few days, as I found out.
Right. I'm
It was
trying
pretty
to think.
miserable. See, this is all, as I'm having this conversation with Jeff, we're talking about things, and I know a lot of you people in the chat don't know what all of the acronyms are, but it's like second nature to us. And if we were to try and have this kind of conversation with old numbnuts, he wouldn't have a clue, not at all. And
I would pay good money for that though, to watch him struggle.
I would, like I said, he responded to one email, and when I replied to that one, he's been on ghost mode. And I don't expect anything less from him, because he's that much of a coward. He just built up this gigantic career, which was all fake, and has yet to let his faithful few viewers or his paid subscribers to know the truth. And the way I do my Stolen Valor stuff, I'll go at somebody, and I still go at Jeremy DeWitt. Right now, he's been radio silent, and his court cases keep getting pushed off, and I don't know why. I know he's going to end up doing some time on these insurance frauds, because he videotaped himself committing some of these crimes. So
All of them.
yeah. I mean, I think his brother was riding a motorcycle, got hit by a taxi. He tells his brother to leave. He gets on the bike and says he was riding it. And
And
then,
Dylan was he was so concussed at that point in time, like
oh,
throwing up,
yeah, you could
complete
see,
danger.
you could see in the video he was kind of dazed, and he's like, "You want me to what?" But yeah, Jeremy DeWitt. I think Kaiser's kind of beat DeWitt though. I think he's got DeWitt, because DeWitt, even though he dwelled on being this special forces major bullshit, he didn't put out a lot of content with it. However, Kaiser, he was building up his channel based on his his military career, which is a tangible benefit, which is in fact a violation of the Stolen Valor Act. However, getting a prosecutor that's going to dig into that deep enough, the penalties just aren't really that big of a deal for them.
It's not sexy either.
No, it's not. It's not. Anytime you bring up Stolen Valor, it's not sexy. I mean, even the news media, they just don't want to touch it, and I don't know why. That little Oriental girl that was videotaping or trying to interview Jeremy that last time he got locked up, I had several conversations with her, and I thought they were actually going to do something on it, and they never did. And it kind of pissed me off because I gave her everything, and they could have done an entire expose on it, and they never did. The whole thing with Blue Bacon and Dr. Phil, Blue Bacon was told you cannot ask any questions about his military service. You can only talk about the other stuff. And I think that was the only reason, that was one of the stipulations that DeWitt made to go on the show. But you could tell Dr. Phil was like, this guy is a fucking boob. You could tell.
Right. And at least DeWitt didn't claim like multiple Purple Hearts and then like PTSD from killing a teenager.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The only PTSD he's got is from his small peepee claims. Which that it's unsubstantiated. It's third-party hearsay that, he said that he filed a sexual harassment thing with the VA to try and get his 40% bumped up. If in fact he's got 40%, the whole letter is still kind of questionable. But
right.
I don't know, but that's, water under the bridge because he won't readdress it.
Yeah.
Even though he claims he will, but.
And I mean, I saw like, excuse me, sorry. When I detoxed, I was, inpatient at a VA hospital. It was fucking terrible. I was on a like secured floor up in a psych ward with just a bunch of people that were like just hush posh. Wasn't allowed to like go outside and like see the sun. Couldn't smoke. Like couldn't have caffeine. Like it was horrible. But there were two guys in there that were 100%, and that it was for assault, not harassment, if that makes sense. And like things that I joked about, and I like used to be like, oh, because I had tried to get my shit increased twice and failed, and I was like, oh, I could just lie about like something happening and then get my 100% easy. And then I saw those two, and I was like, oh wow, now I feel like an ass to even try and like joke about this shit.
Yeah, and the VA is starting to take another look at a lot of the 100% claims. They're reevaluating a lot of them, and I noticed when I was doing my retirement out processing and having to go through the different stations, and one of the stations was for the VA, and you have to talk to people and get your paperwork submitted, your medical records and all that. And it was almost like they were coaching you into a PTSD thing. Because I don't have anything in my VA claim for PTSD. All of my stuff is orthopedic. Of course, I spent almost 6 years on airborne status. and that's almost an automatic knees and back. And I had a TBI in '85 on a bad jump, so you know. But they were almost like, well, don't you feel unsafe when you're in large crowds? And I'm like, fuck no, I feel the safest when I'm in a large crowd. There's more bodies to absorb the blast. That way I can, go ahead. And she looked at me like I had 3 heads. I'm like, no, I don't feel unsafe in a large crowd. There's more people to get shot before they can get to me, and I can get my shit out and return fire. And I'm surprised she didn't say, well, you're crazy, so we'll give you that one. But I mean, that's how I feel
Right.
about it.
It took me a while, because I like when I got fucked up, it was a suicide bombing, and an IED. Like they baited us in with a suicide bomber, and then we ran over, and we were checking the situation out, and we were getting ready to back off until more people came, and then all of a sudden our company commander showed up like, dude, what the fuck are you doing here? This is not the place for you. Like,
oh, he's
because
cat hunting.
it was during the graduation ceremony for our first like Afghan police class, and we were doing the ceremony at the governor's compound, and me and the squad leader, I was the assistant squad leader, we had drove like the police trucks over to the governor's compound, so we had our gear and rifles, because we would just drive around like in their trucks with just gear, and like especially if we were just going like here or there. So we jumped the wall and ran over there, and all of a sudden he shows up like looking like a soup sandwich. His like IOTV like collar was like up over past his ear. You know how it would like come unvelcroed, and he would just have it rocking up. His Kevlar's like cocked to the side like it was a beret, and we were like, "Sir, there's like a couple hundred people here, and there's 3 of us. We're gonna fall back until like everyone else comes." And he was like, "Well, no, I have to be here with the general." And we were like, "You mean the Afghani general? Like, we don't give a like, he's nobody right now.
Yeah.
We're responsible for protecting you." And then 2 more people came running up, and that's when everything like the concrete or the like stone just jumped, and kind of the last thing I remember. And but then when I woke up, the blast had gone off in between a 2-story building and a 1-story building. That's the picture. I don't know if Josh, if you've seen it, because that's where I re-enlisted at. Like,
Yeah,
I wanted to make
no,
sure.
I didn't see that picture,
But there was like torsos stuck to the fucking 2-story building. It was wild.
yeah. So,
Craziness.
some of the things, and I agree with you, the things that you saw over there that just, I don't want to say it became the norm, but you were almost numb to it, I guess.
Right. You find yourself playing like
wow, that's crazy. And
playing football with a suicide bomber's dick. Like,
say, it's funny you say that. I can't show it on here, but and you know how you used to have to almost every engagement, you at least we did in Iraq, we had to take photographs, and especially like casings, because of the difference in the casings. The ammunition that we gave to the Iraqi police had a regular brass casing. However, the bad guys usually had that dull looking casing, almost like a brushed brass. So we'd take pictures of all of that, and it was all evidentiary shit. And I think the guys in the talk just wanted us to do it so they could actually see pictures of what the hell's going on out there. And
Right.
but we had a guy blow up. He was wearing a vest, and he tried to get into our little setup. And when he blew up, I mean, there were pieces everywhere. And we dismounted, and I'm looking on the hood of my truck, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I kind of poked it a little bit with my M4, and I flipped it off the truck and landed on the ground. And I went over and looked. I said, oh, I got to take a picture of that. Click, because that was his dick. So I've got a picture of a dick. So that's an original dick pic, but that's all there was. The rest of them was gone. Yeah. But you know, it's hard to explain that, you know, it's like, yeah, okay. But I mean, that was part of life. I think once you get beyond, I mean, the first time you go out the wire, your ass is puckered up around your neck and you get a brown fucking bow tie. And after a week or two, it's kind of like, yep, okay. It's almost like you become numb to it and you just go out and do your thing. Is that the same for you, or?
Yeah, it basically, like, you're fucking so hyper vigilant, like scanning everything to the point you get overwhelmed almost, and it's not healthy, nor is it helpful for anything. And then it just becomes, you just kind of accept it, like, well, if this is how it's going to go, this is how it's going to go. And you just stop, not that you stop caring, it's just to the point to where you're not driving yourself insane, worried.
Yeah. Hold on a second here. Do you mind if I show these?
You can.
All right. Let's do this. Let's see if I have the technical capabilities to do it. I can tend to be a fucking mess at times. All right, let's see. Take those and throw those over there. All right. Did it open all three of them? What the? So yeah, I'm technically challenged. But, we got one of them up anyway.
Need a tech guy.
Yeah.
We need a nerd.
I guess I could do one at a time. That's easy enough. So I'll let you explain this picture a little bit.
That's just so I had been demoted, and battalion had a big thing about like wanting to come to everyone's reenlistment. So after being demoted, my kind of fuck you was to get do my reenlistment in the spot like where suicide bombing happened. So that's what's left of like the 1-story building. That's where our class basically lived at during the time of our class. Like they were in training, so
yep,
that's where basically just our platoon hanging out, getting ready for my reenlistment. And then, up there in the center.
So this picture here looks like just another view of it.
Yeah. And the 2-story building is basically like to the left of the screen. that point in time.
Yeah, I'd say it kind of turned that place into rubble.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool picture.
Yeah, that was after I got kicked in the dick because I said "so help me science" instead of "so help me God."
Oh, you were that guy. I had a couple of team leaders that were like that.
Just anything to like laugh. Everything was always a joke.
Yeah, and then what when we discussed your whole getting in trouble thing, and you sent me the information on it, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, okay, so I've got an NCO who's squared away, and he's doing the right thing, and then these douche nozzles are getting after you about it, and I was like, this makes no fucking sense. And I'm so glad I retired when I did, because I did see some of this toxicity that was starting to creep into the command structure, and I was like, wow, these guys are fucking soft.
Right, like I went to TBI level 3 in Bagram, and then uh, spent some time up there, lied my ass off, and got sent back to my guys. And when I went back, I was on a profile, so I couldn't go out on mission for a couple weeks, and so they put me as SOG, and in doing so, I kept like the first night, like just doing radio checks. People are fucking like I can hear them snoring on the radio, and I end up catching like a bunch of people fucking sleeping in the guard tower, and then in the truck in the back uh, for our back wall security. And then like I talk to them, and they tell me they're on some like weird. I can't remember if it was like 2 hours on, 2 hours off, or 4 hours on, 4 hours off, but like some rotating schedule. And like in that rotating schedule, they never have like a consistent like schedule.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, I get it. Like, you guys had people that don't know shit about fuck and like don't really know what it's like to lead, like, in charge of this shit because they had uh, like the fucking F6 or the commo shop, like running base protection for some reason. So, I switched them over to like, because there was a group and they would come for a week to be on Force Pro, and then they would go back to like their guys or like their respective places or whatever.
Yep.
So I gave them 8 hour shifts, and then like outside, it's not a punishment. Like, they're there to protect like the base, so they don't need to be like getting fucked in the ass on the schedule. So I gave them 8 hours on, 16 off. But then once I, found people still sleeping, like I, verbally like counsel them. And then second time I did, a little physical corrective training. And you can even see in the report, like most of them said, like, I deserved it. I fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
he did nothing wrong.
I was reading through it, and I'm like, and how can they? This makes no sense. This made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever, other than you had piss poor leadership and a weak upper echelon Your first sergeant must have been a big pussy.
He was acting first sergeant. Like,
Well, he wasn't doing a fucking very good job acting, I'll tell you that.
there was a whole bunch of shit going on at that point in time. There was a female that had gotten moved from the big fob to our fob for being, lack of a better way, promiscuous and sleeping around. And she ended up like getting assigned to me, and then was one of the soldiers that was on base security. And through her relationship, she is the one that basically complained to the a PFC with like direct first line to command sergeant major. Yeah.
Well, it happens. I've seen it. I had pretty much had all I could take when we deployed. One of my squad leaders made E7, so he wasn't going with us, and he whined and cried, "I gotta go. I gotta take care of my squad." Blah blah blah. Is there going to be any issues working for Sergeant Gagner? He's senior E7. He's the guy that's going to be your platoon sergeant. Blah blah blah. Nope, no issues, no issues. The guy was the biggest pile of shit that I could have taken over there with me. He missed movement on a patrol. Nobody could find him because he was dinking some female from another platoon. So he missed movement. I'm doing a relief for cause NCOER on him. I turn it in and they gave it back to me. No, we're not going to do that. I'm like, what do you mean you're not going to do that? I'm relieving him as a squad leader, as an E7 squad leader. He can't handle the job. And they gave him some other job and sent him up north as a liaison. I was like, geez, let's give this guy a cushy job for the rest of the time he's here because he's a piece of shit. And then he got promoted to master sergeant before I did. I saw his name on the list above my name. I was rip shit. But, I could see that things were not doing well. The politically correct had infiltrated the ranks, and people not wanting to take accountability for their own actions. At least the guys, the statements that I read, they all stood up and took accountability for their actions and said all of the corrective measures that you took were appropriate and were not extreme. And the old saying, it's not who you know, it's who you blow.
It helps if it's the first sergeant, sergeant major, platoon sergeant, and
I would have loved to have had squad leaders with that type of integrity and taking care of things rather than bringing it up the chain. If you smoke somebody, you smoke somebody. And if they got a problem with it, if somebody had come crying to me, "Oh, you smoked me," I'd say, get out of my office before I smoke you. Because you won't like it if I smoke you.
And then you're going to get smoked again because there's no reason you should just be walking into somebody's office without at least letting your leadership know.
Exactly. And a lot of guys, granted, I wasn't a first sergeant, I was a master sergeant. I did operations. Anything to do with operations, I told everybody, look, I got an open door policy. If you think something's fucked up out on the road, come to me. I don't care. I'm going to let your patrol supervisor or your squad leader or your platoon sergeant know that you came to me. So you best tell them that you're coming to me. But I always had an open door policy, as most commands do. However, I think it doesn't get utilized correctly a lot of times. I mean, the first words out of their mouth, did you let your supervisor know you were coming to see me? That should be the first words out of their mouth instead of creating more drama and bullshit with the politically correct. Oh, you can't do that to them. Yeah, oh yeah, you can. Anyway, yeah, we've
Right.
been on an hour.
People,
These at an hour, brother. I appreciate you coming on.
thanks for having me. Sorry I fucked the time up.
That's all right. That's all right. You can have the little terrorist go ahead and knock out some push-ups for me.
Oh, she's still pushing.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to try and keep this going and get some different guys in here. Not only just combat vets, but just veterans from all different time frames. Just to talk about their experiences and how much of a weak, nasty little coward, teeny weeny peeny dude Kaiser is. Because I always tag him. I always tag him on all my my videos too. Because he looks, he watches. He's probably watching right now.
Without a question in my mind, he's watching or will watch it.
Yeah, it's great having the MI guys too, because I mean we're living rent free in his head right now.
Right, and that was the great thing about like the Special Troops Battalion is like we had an MI commander, and then I think our first sergeant was an engineer, like our original first sergeant, and then he got frocked or whatever to like the E9 list, and he had to go back. But just a group of professionals that are good at like exploiting what other people are good at and using it to their advantage.
Yep. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be on again next Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. I will track down and get me another guest for next week. And we're going to just continue this on. And, I've got a couple of other targets on the scope. I just haven't had the time to look to see if they're even worth looking at. Neither one of them have a very big social media presence. So they're not a lot of fun to do. I usually just call them out and we never hear anything else about them. But it's a lot of fun when you've got somebody who's right there in everybody's face every day, and we can talk shit about them and stream snipe them and just make his life miserable. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, any of that other bullshit that YouTube likes. And with that, I'll sign off. Have a great day. And on your last words there, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take it easy.